Perfect. Thank you.
All right, please help me like you if he doesn't hear the words. All right, the meeting is called to order. I have 5:30. Yep, pretty much on the dot. We do have a quorum. We're in compliance as far as I know. Yep. Yes. Let's stand for the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I see only one signed up for public comments, and that's Jenny.
I just had some concern. I read through the unapproved November public comments, and they aren't very representative of what I said. So I don't know if that should be approved.
Jenny, do you have a copy of what you said?
I do.
Would you like to submit that? Okay. Because I believe you read it, is that correct? Okay.
I just said.
Okay.
Or something else too. I think that the book challenges should be made public, you know, the people that are challenging the books. If I were challenging a book, I would expect my name to be there. And I think that they should be. Another thing is, who actually contested all the books that the director was awarded for fighting? I've never heard of most of those books, and I don't know of a meeting where they were contested. And this, she was awarded a national thing for intelligence for fighting off those challenges. And I definitely agree with Mark Ruskevich when he said that these books don't have to be presented in the first place if they aren't really something that kids should be seeing. I sat out there, watched more kids come to the library by themselves, unaccompanied by parents. And I know parents are responsible, but I think the library is too. And if they're allowed to have the run of the library, some of these books should not be within their reach. And I was really bothered when the director said that that one filthy book was missing for a while. You know, it wasn't parents that were passing that thing around. It had to be kids. And was the Jack the Ripper book actually challenged by the same person at the same time? You know, that shouldn't have been decided together. Those should have been separate. Because, you know, accounting of some historical event is a lot different from what I saw in the other one. That's it.
Thank you, Jenny. If you're able to get me a copy of your comments from last time, that would be helpful.
Comments from this time.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Okay, I don't believe we had any written questions from either of the last two meetings, correct? Okay. Communication and correspondence, we didn't receive any by email. That means there was none. Okay. Minutes from the November 21st meeting. It's the very next thing in the packet.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Ryan makes a motion to approve the minutes. I'd be happy to second that. Second by Christy. Do either of you care to address Ginny's concern about her public comments stated in the minutes? They're on page 3 of the minutes, page 4 of the packet. you could simply add in something like approve them with the addition of adding Ginny's transcript of her comments to the minutes. Or
Yeah, sorry, didn't want to interrupt, but I would support something like that if we could have the direct written material so that we don't have to translate or interpret. I think that would be best.
So the public comments information, does that come from? Does Galen read the recording, or is this basically while live while they're,
He usually gets a copy of the recording.
and uses that to
Hey.
transcribe the
I
public
assume.
comment?
Galen? Galen?
Yes, that
Do you
is my process is I take some very sparse notes during this meeting so I'm able to fully participate in the conversation. And then afterwards, I sit down with the video recording and try to capture the meaning of what people are saying. I will summarize and abbreviate things sometimes, but it's always my intention to convey the meaning of what people are saying, and not to censor anything or anything like that.
Sure, which is a very subjective and difficult process. Having been the secretary recently, I can certainly vouch for that. It is delicate and difficult sometimes to convey the meaning fully as the speaker intended.
It's clear.
Right. Ginny's a soft-spoken person, so it would have been hard to capture all of that as well as she would have liked. So, go ahead. Brian, would you like to add something in addition to your motion, or do you want it to stand as you intended?
I guess I'll amend it to adding the written, printed transcript that Jim provided.
Okay. Christy, are you good with that?
I would second that amended motion. Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion or questions?
After we vote, I have a comment.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say
Aye.
no. Okay, motion is carried. Yes, Christy.
A follow-up to that, this isn't the first time the summary maybe wasn't accurately reflected. And I know in looking at the minutes, a good portion, you have 2 whole pages of public comment, and when we get to the board discussion, there's no comments. Is it worth even trying to summarize it more, or is there value to having such extensive public comment in our minutes?
And that is a valid question, one that I struggled with as secretary myself, how much to include and what to leave out. My personal feelings at this time is that it's probably best simply to give a list of people who provided public comments and not try to summarize their comments at all. Because now that Galen is consistently on Zoom, and because we've opened it to Zoom for other people to join the meeting also, the recording is readily available. Anyone could simply ask for a recording and hear the comments all first person, so to speak, from a recording, and it would save space in the minutes and avoid a big headache on Galen's part. And any kind
Are we saving the recordings?
Yes.
Could we also make sure those recordings are just available on the library's website so people don't even have to ask and trouble you for it?
Go ahead. I can, if we want to. I mean, I don't block them. When people ask me for them, I just send them. I just take it as a open records request and I just send them. So
Sure.
That probably, I can't imagine most people are bored enough to sit and listen to us.
So
I'm not
on the website where we have the minutes and the agenda listed, could we just make a note that recordings are available upon request?
Sure.
So I guess
Sure.
we have a county board rep and a city council rep here. To the city of county minutes, what do they include for the public comment section of the
question.
minutes?
Oh, yeah.
If-
How in depth?
I mean, it's been a while since I was involved in city
I don't
government, and I don't
recall.
remember there being.
I don't recall.
There's
My recollection is
I
there's,
think they say the name, right?
they say the
Yeah,
name
just the
and-
name and maybe a short sentence of, they talked about blah, blah, blah.
Like-
At the county,
Maybe.
they have to write what they're there for on the sheet. And usually people are here for book banning or whatever.
Right.
But we could ask people to give us a short topic next to the sign up sheet and we could include that, just so that.
If they identify it themselves and we're not assigning it to
Exactly.
them.
So so I just make a little note on the sheet, like name, topic, and that'll be what goes into the minutes.
I think that would be adequate.
Cause then if we have 20 and people wanna look for a certain one, they can look
Sure.
through. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes good sense.
Would that make your job easier, Galen, than trying to
Definitely.
interpret what everyone says?
Definitely.
Yeah, that would make my job easier, and I think that would result in everything about this seems like it will be more accurate information being conveyed to the public, which I think is the ultimate North Star goal.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Again, it's not an action item, but I just.
One thing I was kind of wondering about is our secretary is not here. And should our secretary be here? Would that maybe help avoid some of this? Maybe we could all chip in and buy him a sandwich from Quick Trip. If he could come here.
That would help, maybe. You need to leave it out with like a box and
I think you should be here in person if you're gonna be secretary. I mean, that's just my opinion, really.
Mm.
I just think for more clarity, especially if you may have, like you said, Ginny was maybe talking soft spoken. Recorder's not picking it up either properly.
So do what you can, Galen. We appreciate
Yeah.
your work,
Yeah.
Okay.
but it probably would aid meetings a little bit if you could make it at least once in a while. That'd be great.
I'm not trying to take. his
We'd
job
like to
either.
see it.
I'm not-
I was gonna say, I was wondering if Mark was doing it to putting in a nomination for.
Right, yeah. But no, that is all a fair consideration. Unfortunately, I work in Rhinelander and it's kind of hard for me to get away in time to get back in time for the library board meeting.
Thanks, Galen.
But yeah.
Okay, so I think we're in agreement. Let's revamp the sign up sheet slightly to include topic. And we'll just include that in the minutes rather than trying to summarize or provide a transcript of public comments. Is that good? All right.
Good.
Moving on to December 18th meeting minutes. Thank you, Becky, for providing these.
Now you see what you get when you.
But it covers everything we
Yeah, it's legally
legally
appropriate.
sufficient.
Right.
Although, yeah, I wouldn't want.
Okay, this was a brief meeting attended by only a handful. Thank you, those of you who were able to be here and take care of the bills.
Yep.
Any questions?
I thought they were appropriate. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you. And we're looking for a second.
I'll second. Mark B.
Thank you.
As a
Mark with a
percentage.
K.
So that was Bruce
Yeah, sorry about that.
and Mark B. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried. All right, Bruce, you're up.
All right. Treasurer's report, we do have the full year of 2024. See what occurred over the course of the year financially. Page 12 in your packet is the summary of all of the accounts. You can see that overall, the board accounts went up basically $5,500. I'm sorry, $6,500. And you can see via the detail in pages 13 through 19, I think it is, through 18. No, I'm sorry, through 17. You can see the breakdown of the individual transaction. There wasn't anything that jumped out at me as being unusual. We had very nice book sales during the course of the year. That has been a very significant item for us. And I have to say, in spite of some of our fears of, hey, wait a second, what happened to all that fine money? We have not sensed like, oh my gosh, we're losing $5,000 a year by not collecting fines. I think it also should be pointed out that we do still collect for lost, stolen, damaged materials. And that's sort of the assumption, what is it, after 12 weeks or 16 weeks or something like that? Where you guys suddenly say, hey, wait a second,
12.
12
And
weeks?
the system does it automatically, which is.
Yeah. So in any event, I'm more than happy to entertain any questions. I should point out, I think I said last month, we do have our 2 CDs set up. So we're trucking along. That's, and I would ask, because this is an annual report, and because Becky is going to be using this as the base for our library annual report, it would be appropriate, if you folks are comfortable with it, to approve this annual report.
Thank you, Bruce, for your hard work on the library's behalf. Is anyone interested in providing a motion to accept the report as presented? Motion made by Mark Peterson,
I will second that motion.
seconded by Galen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carried. All right. Thank you. Becky, director.
Our programs are really going huge. The biggest problem is this space isn't big enough, but it's a good problem to have. But so we are doing chair yoga over in the armory because we had so many people and I love it. So
70?
it's good.
So many.
So many.
So
Sorry.
many.
70.
Oh, I wish 70.
Go buy some chairs.
Yeah.
So they have all of them. There would be enough, 71. We are starting a youth chess club. They are meeting the first time on Monday, February 10th. So if you know anybody that's interested, we do have a high schooler that volunteered to be the coach, which is really exciting. So yes, so that's good.
How we youth is youth.
Middle school, high school.
We opened it for ages 10 to 18.
Okay. So there you go.
What's the date again?
Monday, February 10th.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, and this actually just happened. We just kind of noticed it in the last couple days. We can now very easily send you guys text alerts. So it used to be kind of a hassle. We had to get the carrier and put your phone number in as an email address with your cell phone carrier. It was a mess. And then it didn't work if you got a new phone, blah, blah, blah. Now all we need is your phone number and we can text you for book pickups instead of calling or emailing. So if anybody wants to change that, we can really easily do it. We did a story time for Winterfest, and then we went and played bingo with the moose over in the church. So that was fun. We do that for almost every festival. The moose draw a really big crowd. Story time does better when it's not nice outside. So we'll free to think about that one.
Did you do that over at the same location as the bingo or
We
here?
did the story time here.
Or if it might work if you did it at the same location
Yeah,
just a few minutes
maybe.
earlier.
That's actually a good idea. I really love that. And bingo did offer to let us do bingo here so that everything would be in the same spot. But we do not have room for 50 people in this room. And so I told John that it was very, very nice of him to think of us. We'd love to have that many people come through our door, but we can't facilitate most of them because it's a big deal. But all right, make that note and then I'll continue. Okay. Yeah, so annual reports are due on the 14th, and we are going skiing the second week in February, so I'm gonna do that next week. So you guys will see that at the next meeting. We came in at $10 under budget for 2024. I will never get this close again, but I am so excited about this. So excited. So anyways. And then I did finally get the insurance estimates, and it is $200 under what we approved for our 2025 budget. and I don't want to touch it. In the middle of figuring out where we landed at for 2024, I talked to Shelby a little more in depth about insurance. And apparently, the last payment that we'll be making with our 2025 budget is actually the first payment for 2026. So we don't know that amount until fall when they figure out the new insurance. And considering the fact that it went up 30% this year, I am more than comfortable enough with leaving that $200 right where it is in the budget and then kind of keeping track of it as we get closer. So, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So you said you came up $10 on the budget, but the report from the city didn't show that $10.
Yes, because we have, that shows a difference, and in that difference is an extra insurance payment because the last insurance payment that was supposed to go through in 2023 did not come through until January 2024. So Shelby told me that I was not responsible for that amount of money. And so if you put that amount of money into there, then we were within $159. But I have 2 reimbursement checks on the bills for tonight that are $167. So there's your $10
Okay.
discrepancy.
And the insurance that Becky is talking about is what's circled on there.
Sure, okay.
2758.
I had seen, that she had circled something on the details, you had circled something as well, and so does that we were, because wasn't the library
We were over for last year.
2023, so it
Yes.
actually would have been another 2,700 or
So
whatever.
we are happy about this. So yeah. Yes, but I do have an email from Shelby saying that we are not responsible for that amount of money. So
Because it was put in the wrong month.
exactly.
All the talk about finances reminded me, Bruce, have you met with your?
No, we have not. I tried. God, I'm glad you mentioned that. I forgot to say that as well about these sheets.
Okay.
Mark Peterson had asked at last meeting, he said, well, what's with these numbers? They're showing $200,000 as opposed to. I got a little bit of the base information, just probably more familiar from his past time with the mayor of the city. What these sheets reflect is the entire budget of the library.
Right.
And that's the number that also includes the $140,000 to $160,000 that the county puts in. And so that's why these numbers are so skewed from what we're expecting. Now, when I say that, I'm still a little concerned on how the city runs these numbers. And I wanted to sit down with Shelby before we had a little finance committee sit down and do something. And I'm thinking we're at the start of the year. I'd like to sit down with her first, make sure I understand what we're doing with this, and then hopefully sometime next month.
Yeah.
Right, the combination of all these things.
Sure, yeah, so I mean, so the expenses would be all the expenses,
Right.
which the city and the county both contribute to, right?
Right.
And then the revenue would be, I assume this is the.
That's the county payment, and that's the only revenue that we get to the city.
But part of the problem, I think, is also the timing on how these things get put onto these. What the city does at the start versus the end, exactly how we caught this extra insurance
Right.
payment and whatever. We should be able to match this stuff up as we're going right through the year. We ought to be able to take our sheets that we look at our bills every month and see where we're at on our given categories, and we should be able, in spite of this little bit of a funkiness about how the city does this, we should be able to tell. And that's, I know Jeff's made that point in the last few years.
And I never tracked this, because it's never been
Right,
a
but
problem. But I do have a spreadsheet already created this year to track these numbers. So we should be able to see from month to month how the city lines are going down, and then we'll have like an estimate of how much we are paying for salary every month without going through and actually adding up the other sheet that Shelby gives us.
Okay.
So I have new stuff to track.
Well, maybe what I should do is after you get back from your skiing and you get the annual report out, maybe I'll sit down with you first.
Okay.
Then Shelby, then we have our finance committee meet. Maybe it'll be after the next meeting, I don't know, but sometime in this next month and a half. So then as we're heading into this year, we can feel confident that we're a little bit more on top of where these numbers go and where we stand. But thank you for mentioning it. I
Yes.
forgot about that.
And I'm glad, Becky, that you're doing that because it sounds like that's about the only way to get a real time feel for where the money actually is.
Right.
If you do it yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or clarification? Very good. Staff meeting minutes are in your packet on page 19. Any questions for Becky regarding those?
Is Linda going to do a presentation at the school board meeting or just show up
For
for?
public comment or? I just wanted, I felt like as the children's librarian, that it would be beneficial for me to attend those meetings so that I can be in line with what the school is doing and hear what's going on there. So I do want to start to try to attend those more regularly. And then they see my face and they know who I am.
Oh, so you're not gonna be on the agenda or anything?
Just to listen.
No.
Just to listen,
Just get up
and
and-
maybe be on the agenda, maybe I don't I start going.
Any other questions or comments?
On the new business, the February 17th. So we'll wait till then.
Yes, yeah, okay.
Okay, circulation reports are next. These are provided on pages 20 and 21. Any questions for Becky regarding those? Looks like numbers are down, but pretty much in similar fashion to elsewhere across the system.
Park Falls,
Yeah.
is exactly the same as Park Falls, basically.
Mhm.
I'm not, yeah, there's nothing on here that concerns me. I mean, it'd be great if they were higher, but they're not, it seems like we've kind of hit a level over the last couple of years and we're not dipping below it, which is nice.
Any questions or comments? All right, then. Any comments from the Library Friends group, Becky?
No, they did not have a meeting this month, but they are continuing to help out. We asked them to maybe help us with some shelving. And they're thinking about doing their first fundraiser. But we'll let them tell you about that when they figure out what they want to do.
And collecting donations is going well?
Yes, although we were closed this
I
month
wondered about
because.
Like,
we were
oh,
closed.
wait.
You can bring that in if you would.
Okay.
We'll take it, yes, and I know, but yeah, we haven't done it this month. And so far, it has mostly been me. There was 1 month where we did get some volunteers, so we'll see, but it's been manageable.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you run into trouble, give me a call. Probably somebody from my house can help.
You shouldn't have said that. Okay.
Okay, number 6 is Teen Advisory Council.
And we thought we might have some kids here tonight, but do you want to do a short little blurb?
Sure,
Yeah, go
so
for it.
I'm really excited about our teen advisory committee that we have now. We currently have 6 members. We had 7, but 1 had to step away. They're very busy students and really involved in a lot of things with the school. So getting them here for meetings and things of that nature is kind of challenging, but they're willing to be a part of it. And they are excited about doing stuff here with the library and getting more of the youth in their age area here at the library. So, you know, a lot of them have said, gosh, I haven't been here since I was really little and I have a lot of great memories of playing in that section. But then I just quit coming. I didn't realize that there is a space for, you know, us to come and do studies and hang out and things like that. So they really want to get the word out to their peers about the space and what we offer here in programming. Speaking of programming, we have a teen trivia night coming up. That will be February, it's a Friday, I think it's February 21st. And they told me about a platform called Kahoot. It's something that they use at school. You can type in any kind of subject. And we even kind of kicked around the idea of having the 3 librarians battle them. So them against the library. So we do have that coming up. And then there's talk about doing a book cafe too, like a book tasting. So that's also in the works. I do have some of them volunteering to help at some of the other things that we're doing, like story times and bingo and things like that, that they really enjoy doing. Yeah, so
kind of a threefold thing there, trying to spread the word about library resources and activities, help brainstorming for programming, and then help volunteer within the library itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
And some of them do keep talking about the meetings, so if their faces
Yeah.
pop up, be nice to the teenagers. Not that you wouldn't be, but yeah. To see them.
All right, very good. And library renovation project.
I should hear about the door before the next meeting, so I will either say, yay, we got grant money, or please give me $5,000. So we'll go from there.
okay. That would be doors.
If it's the grant, it'll be doors. If it's just you guys, I think we'll probably just do the front door.
Okay.
So, at least for now.
All right, moving on to old business. Discussion action on tiered library cards. Please notice in your packet, pages 22 and 23, these would be printed as two sides of one sheet of paper. The subcommittee did meet with Becky twice. The first one, we brainstormed the type of differentiation between the three card levels and what kinds of information we would want on the application, kind of narrowed down some things. The second meeting, we hammered out the fine print and typos and all of that kind of thing. And Becky did a good job of getting all of our more symbols and our library logo onto the paper. And the front side of page 22 would be the side that every patron would fill out in order to apply for a library card. That is essentially the same as our current application. It's just one side of a sheet instead of half page, two-sided. And then 23 would be the new side for parents to look at if they have an underage child applying for a card, and they do have to physically choose one of the options in order to indicate and then sign so that there is no more confusion about what getting a card for a minor actually entails and what it allows the child access to. So I think this would clear up a lot of confusion about what it means to get a card for a child and what it doesn't mean. And it gives 3 different options. The parent could choose no restrictions at all. The child has access to all library materials, which is absolutely the choice of the parent. Option 2 would give the child permission to check out materials except for probably our most the materials we have on the shelves that gender the most concerns are those connected to visual ideas, R-rated movies, mature video games, YA and adult graphic novels. A parent could circle any or all of those to indicate they want those items restricted from their child's checkout. And then option 3 would be a parent is limiting their child's access only to materials in the children's area of the library. This we talked about quite extensively, and Becky was concerned that some parents, after their child hits a certain age, don't regularly come with their young person to the library. And what happens when a young person hits the age of 12, 13, 14, and their card still says they're restricted to things only in the children's department where their reading level and interest would be elsewhere. Even items like classic literature is shelved in the adult section of the library. So we listened to her concern that if we allowed parents to make that choice without some kind of timeout procedure embedded in that, we could end up with a bunch of teens who feel like, well, yeah, I'm never going there because all I can read is Dora the Explorer, you know. So we agreed that the age of 13 sounds like a recognizable turning point in a young person's life. They become a teenager. the card would automatically revert to the second option with all of the restrictions included. We figured if a parent wanted their kids to go only in the children's section, they probably would appreciate all of those restrictions under option number 2. So that would be the default when the child turns 13, with the exception that a parent could say, I know my child's turning 13, but I know my kid and he or she is not ready for anything outside of the kids department right now. Let's give it another year. They could make that decision. They could also call the library at any time and say, yeah, my child's 11, but she's fine. She can check out, I trust her judgment. She can check out things wherever her interest is. So a parent could make a change in the card status of any of these 3 levels at any point in time. A parent could initially check number 1 and then realize, oh, that's not working so well for us, and call up the library and say, let's go for option number 2 with these restrictions. And it would not be a problem to make that change, either with a phone call or if a parent came into the library to make that change in person.
But, so you have their signature on here.
Mhm.
So I guess if they're making a change to a signed document, shouldn't they be filling that document out with the change? Because if we've got this paperwork that says that they should be at this level, and then we get a phone call
Mhm.
without something that shows that this was adjusted, we've only got a verbal, is that any concern there?
The staff would make a note on the sheet, would be the thought, is that we would definitely keep all records of youth library card applications. We're no longer required to keep them all anymore. We still do. But after doing this, we thought we'd hang on to the youth one. And so you would pull this out and like you
Updated to your
Date.
option, whatever.
Exactly. And so you wouldn't have the parents' signature, but you would have the staff person's initials and the date.
Okay.
The concern was that securing signatures may be difficult from some
Right.
parents, so again, if they sent. I agree with you from a legal perspective, I wanna sign, but, they sometimes come unaccompanied, and so getting that signature, and then we get into the argument of who signs it, mom or dad, if they have a separate households, who has that authority.
Mhm.
So if mom says, no, you can't, but dad says yes, we still have that issue, but
We're hoping that.
we're hoping it doesn't
doesn't-
come up
I
too
got a
early.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Young adult graphic novels and adult graphic novels, forgive me if you covered this before, but I don't recall who decides what the graphic novels are?
I mean, they come from the publisher. We buy them as a graphic novel. So
So
like,
it's defined when you buy it?
yeah, it's
Yes.
defined when you buy it.
Brian, are you asking whether the material is a graphic novel at all, or which
Why,
age group it would be put
if
in?
it is at all, I mean, because if they, they circle, they don't want their kids to have young adult graphic novels, option 2,
Mhm.
or adult graphic novels.
Mhm.
How do you determine which books are the graphic novels?
Okay, good question.
Right.
So they are filled with illustrations, not just an occasional illustration. The point of it is kind of like an extended comic book. So it has a great many illustrations compared with text
Yeah, and that's decided by who?
by the publisher.
Publisher? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And it will be labeled that way, both in the system as well as on the book itself.
Okay.
And it goes in a separate section in each area of the library. So like the YA graphic novels are on a separate shelf from the rest of the fiction and nonfiction,
That answers.
and
my
labeled that
question.
way. Mhm.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, and on the spines. So the child would be able to identify it right on the spine.
And all the kids would get the same card, so there wouldn't be alleged
Right.
discrimination, you got a blue card versus a green card. Everyone would have the same card, the monitoring would be done by the Sierra system. There would be a pop-up.
So, yes.
Mhm.
So maybe this is the appropriate time to say this. So I was chatting with Matt about this last night, and his concern is, since we cannot do this through the Moore system, like there's no way for us to code a card to stop an actual checkout. The responsibility for enforcing this is completely on the shoulders of the library staff. Over a long enough timeline, we are going to miss something. like, no, we're not gonna try, we're gonna do our best, we're gonna do our darndest to make sure, but like, there's 50 people in the library, we're gonna miss a note. There's gonna be a book that's mislabeled or a video game that doesn't have a sticker on it, and the front desk is gonna miss it. So when we do this, and I'm not fighting against doing this, I just want kind of a verbal agreement from the board that you will support my staff in the occasion that happens. And if you are approached on the street by someone, a parent who says, well, I signed the thing on the back of the card and my kid still came home with X, Y, and Z, please assure them that the library staff is doing their darndest. We're human, there's human error. Really, and I mean, I'm not going to fire a staff member over this. I mean, if it happens 50 times in a week, we can have a conversation. But I mean, really,
I think that's a
we'll
reasonable
do our
request.
best.
We're gonna take away your birthday, but.
And we all recognize that any new system takes a little time to implement and get used to and work the bugs out of.
Right,
It's
it's
gonna happen,
just
like
done.
you say, if you're overwhelmed with
Right.
patrons at the time.
Thankfully, the staff is used to paying attention to those
Right.
pop-ups because they also have to do with outstanding fees related to a lost book or the status, like it's a new patron and they can check out only X number of items for the first month, that kind of thing. They are used to paying attention to those and not just ignoring them. So it is working within a system that they're already quite familiar with. It's just for a new purpose.
I would toss out, there'd be nothing wrong with throwing one more sentence on this sheet, acknowledging that because this is not
System automated.
Yeah, that this is not system automated. We are going to try our best, but parents, you recognize that this is an imperfect system or something. I mean, I don't know what the right sentence to put on there, but it doesn't have to be much, just a little
Right,
something.
sure.
We be
And
human.
to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the idea that it's not on the system, on the
Right.
Sierra software or whatever, that I think that could be noted on here so that.
Something about it being an additional service that is not part of our software.
It's human monitored and there's human errors.
Yeah.
So the Sierra system doesn't have that capability?
It would be highly complicated. It would have to go back to IFLS and they would have to set up the structure for us and they would be loath to do so if it's not system wide.
Oh, gotcha.
As
Okay.
opposed to just our library.
Well, we
only pay 13,000 a year.
Well, from what they said, the system doesn't actually have the capability to do it right now. So it would be a matter of us going to the software developers and saying, do this.
Yeah.
And we pay for 2.5% of the more budget, so unless a player wants to do it. Okay, so how about this? Since this is not an automated system, we recognize that the staff may make mistakes, but they will do their best. Is that decent?
Just something like we,
Manually implemented?
because this is a manual service, it
Okay,
is subject to occasional or possible error. The staff will do their best.
Possibly
Okay.
human error.
all right.
Mhm.
Would it help to me put a comment about, so parents should be vigilant about what?
Kind of language is
You know,
in here
kind of put
already.
some more responsibility on the parent too.
That kind of language is definitely in here on both sides.
Kind of a disclaimer.
Mhm.
Well, you have in here, by signing this, I'm acknowledging that I read the conditions above, and I take responsibility
Mhm.
for the materials checked out by my child.
Exactly.
And so
And the
this-
other side indicates a similar
Yeah.
statement. Mhm.
I think they have.
And speaking of the Moore system, we were very clear in the keep in mind section that this only applies to our library.
Mhm.
And that's why one of the reasons we put the headers on top of them, like one is for Moore, this works to all the Moore system. This one's just specific to our library. So if, again, a child chooses to check something out through Moore, and it would be flagged if it was a local book, but they're still checking it out.
Right.
Mhm.
We aren't monitoring other libraries'
Right.
material.
So I have two comments about the form or suggestions.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I like the form, just for, I guess my mind, maybe, so the three options stood out, is give them a brief name, like you've got like option 3 is child only, full access, and whatever you want to call the middle one. So some sort of, instead of just saying option 1, 2, and 3, actually give them a name,
Okay.
so you have option 1 is no restrictions, so maybe full or no
Full
restrictions.
access?
Full access.
Yeah. all
Option 2
access.
is youth, and option 3 is child, or something like that, just so when they're, I mean, yeah, I guess we know people don't necessarily read everything.
Well,
So
option 2 is
so if you have at least a
restricted.
little, I
audio
think if you have a
visuals.
snippet there, at least they're better that they'll pick what they want.
As soon as you see the word restricted, they're gonna, I don't wanna say gawk, but yeah,
So option 2.
because option 2 is where.
'Cause it is
the
all-
youth would age up
Right.
to option 2.
Maybe just call it youth.
Limited
access.
youth?
Parental restrictions.
Maybe full access, youth access, and child access.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess based on the fact that you're saying, using, you automatically say at 13, they go up to the option 2, so that's almost the teen level, right? Intended.
Youth would
Yeah,
cover
maybe-
children. that-
Yeah, maybe teen access instead of youth access. So all access, teen access, and youth access instead of children's, because we call it youth services.
My hesitancy with the word youth though, for for option 3, is my mind goes to like the YA section when I hear the word youth. And I think that will cause some confusion for parents.
Which is probably why it's good for the middle one. It kind of goes with YA.
Oh.
Yeah. I think maybe we just go no restrictions for option 1, young adult for option 2, and children's for option 3. Would that?
For the sake of attitude, I like full access as opposed to no restrictions.
Yes, I would,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
I wrote all.
Yes.
More positive.
Yes. But the same concept, Gail.
Full access is
Different option.
Sure.
Also, yeah,
That's
positive.
yes.
We need a motion.
good point.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
but he had one more.
I have one more.
Sorry.
So I'm reading option 2, and so I give, let's see. Give my child permission to check out any material except for circle all that apply. So if they don't circle anything, those are automatically included.
So then there'd be a.
Right, if they don't circle anything, that's basically option 1. They do also have a bit, like if they're looking at this and they're like, oh, well, but I didn't want my kid to be able to check out puppets. This is where they would check option 2 and they would write puppets. So they have the ability, we didn't want to give them every single option because it's huge.
Right.
But so within the library, they are allowed to restrict by kind of like by call number group. So like if you wanted your child to only be able to do picture books, we could do that. If you want your kid to only be able to check out animal books within picture books, no, we're not.
Right. So I guess my concern is on the wording on human nature is that they may, again, sometimes people gloss over stuff. So I was thinking that instead of reversing instead of they have to circle the ones that they want to restrict, is that they're automatically restricted unless they.
That's what it says.
No,
That's where I read it.
Yeah, that's not what it's saying.
it's
right?
not what, yeah, see that, so they have to circle those to restrict them. I'm thinking that it should be reversed and that it's restricted and they have to authorize one of those
So-
4 items.
Option 2 card with all restrictions. on
So I give my
both
child
sides.
permission to check out
I know, but
only,
it reverts to this, but when it reverts, it's automatically, all of those are restricted, it's like they're all circled, that's the way I read it.
Right.
If they checked option 3 and then
Right.
the child ages up to be a teenager.
Right, you
But if they're already a teenager,
Right.
right?
Jeff's concerned, what if a parent wants some restrictions and they check number 2, but they don't circle anything? Then what do you do?
Because they think
You
it's
don't-
included.
right, so that's why I'm saying
Right.
reverse it so that they have to select what they want to include versus they have to select what they want to exclude.
So Becky,
But don't we
when,
run the problem
So
of having
when
too many
we-
categories?
Exactly, we had it.
Well, no, I'm not saying change the number of categories.
You're
You
saying
can still leave those.
Okay, because we had it that way in the first draft,
Yeah.
so
We
why?
did. So I'm wondering, Becky, when a card application goes into the computer,
Right,
what is that normally happening right then while the patron is still standing there?
yes.
Okay, so the employee, the library assistant would need to look at that and say, oh, I see you marked option 2. Which one of these 4 things did you mean to restrict? All of them or some of them? Because none were circled. Could you take care of that for me?
I think the staff should be able to catch it.
Because they
Because yeah, if they
normally,
don't circle one, then we'd have to ask.
they
but they should
normally
be
want
there.
to use the card right
Yeah.
then. That's why they're applying.
Right, sure, well, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And to Jeff's point, we did have it in reverse the first draft,
Right.
but then we felt it was. I give access except for these items, but then I can re-include these items. It felt,
It seemed awkward.
yeah, if there's a way you can think of to word it, I think we'd be ears.
Right.
At least we couldn't come up with
Oh.
it. Because option 2 would say, I give my children to permission check out all material except the following. We could pre-include them. But I can exclude the exclusion by including it. You know, so it was just kind of
Yeah, I
a,
guess, yeah,
Yeah.
stating, how do you have to state that what's the.
Right, what
Yeah.
do you do? Cross through the
So
ones
it's a-
you
yeah,
didn't
you'd have to
need?
list them
Yeah.
twice.
yeah.
We don't wanna require them to be either an
So-
engineer or a lawyer in order.
Right.
So the only other option is I'm sitting here, we could say include, exclude, and you put a little check mark, like you have the work, you have like R-rated movies and one column on the like right side says include, one says exclude. I mean, we could, I guess, do it that way. I just thought it.
Yeah. I'm pretty certain as a parent, Jeff, who intends to use some of these for my own children.
Yeah.
I am pretty certain that a concerned parent would either ask enough questions to figure it out at the time of filling out the application, or the staff member would catch the fact that things weren't circled and ask.
So if they don't circle any of those 4 items, they're pretty much authorizing option 1.
Correct.
Right.
Is what,
Which would be pretty,
so which is why then, yes, so you're missing something. Either you need to
Right.
select option 1 or you need to circle out something.
right,
Okay.
exactly.
With that explanation now that. I
We want
can
to
see
be,
where you're at
we
now.
don't make that word accept all caps underlined, make it.
It's bold.
I mean, it's bold, I mean.
Or you could say must circle at least 1 item.
Could I throw in one suggestion?
Sure, go ahead, Mayor.
And it might be not good, but what about something like, please circle the materials you do not give permission for your child to check out? Because then they would have to they'd know I'd have to actively circle one, or if you leave it blank, it's blank. I don't know, just thinking.
I say let's give this I think we're gonna find things. I'm
Well-
sure there's something that we haven't thought of.
Right.
I don't think that this is the last time we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah, it can always be tweaked.
Let's just give it, seriously, let's just give it a whirl and, yeah, and let's just see what happens.
You at least settled my concerns. about
Yeah,
the
Because I mean,
reverse negative.
we are constantly flipping over the things that we have now and making sure that they sign the back, because nobody signs the back.
Mhm.
So my staff is very used to looking at it, flipping it over, and so then even if the person walks away from the desk while we're technically putting it into the computer, we've looked at, yeah. And if they've checked
Mhm.
number 2 and they haven't circled anything, that's pretty clear. And we'll just
Right.
ask.
And the phone number's
Okay.
on there.
Right, we can always
All
call
there.
or email.
Which brings up implementation. So this would be going forward. Anyone applying for a new card would receive this form. All cards renew on a person's birthday. So the plan would be to advertise, which are some of the other pages in our packet here, advertise this new service, assuming if we decide to vote it in. Advertising the service in the paper and on Facebook and our website, posters around the library to let parents know that they can ask about it and ask to change something about their child's card if they choose to, anytime. It doesn't just apply to new cards. If a parent does not come in and say something to a librarian before their child's card comes to a renewal point, then at renewal, Becky plans to contact a parent and let them know about the new system and ask what level they prefer their child to have, so that we're trying to catch people on all 3 levels. someone who's concerned or hears about it and wants to come and make a change right away, someone who's new and filling out a form for the first time, and those who may not have heard, but their child's card is coming due, that seems like a reasonable time to reach out to the parent, because they don't have to come in person. The parent doesn't have to come in person at renewal. So it's a good time to make a change, or at least offer an option.
And then we're not asking them like 60 times either. So,
Right.
if their card's been renewed and it's renewed for next year, then we know we've asked, and if there's not something on there, then we're good.
Means we don't need to make
Right.
500 phone calls out. Well, we don't have that many
Right.
children patrons, but we don't need to reach out all up front, all at one time. We can wait if
Phase it
it
in.
seems reasonable to phase it in.
You brought up a good point. Just a question. How many children's cards do we have? How many children patrons
We
do
did talk
we
about
have?
that at
We
one
Roughly.
can
point.
talk about it. Well, we have 500 or so patrons overall, right?
Overall.
So I think probably about, I'd say a quarter to a third are probably kids, maybe.
It is fewer than half.
It's fewer than half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just,
Although then Jenny's family. Sorry. But,
Aren't children anymore.
I know. Sorry.
All right, any other questions or concerns? We do not have to vote on this tonight. If someone needs to wait and see an updated version, that is perfectly fine. But if someone would like to make a motion either to accept or to disapprove, I would be happy to entertain that.
I'd make a motion to approve with the changes we've made. If Becky could just quickly go through them.
So we will be labeling the options. So the first one will be full access, the second one will be young adult access, and the third one will be children's access. And we will be adding the point under, please keep in mind that since this is a manual service, it is subject to possible human error. The librarians will do their best.
With that, I'll second it.
All right, so Brian makes the motion, Galen, and Bruce is second.
Very
All
good.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Thank you all for your good questions and input.
Thank you guys for the committee.
Extra
efforts.
Absolutely welcome. Oh, before we move on entirely, take just a moment to look at page 25 and page 24. Page 24 would be
The newspaper ad. So I wanted to keep it real easy and succinct, and I'll make it big, and I'll probably do it in color so that our logo pops. But I wanted it to be
Get
pretty
the news
simple.
out that this is available and hopefully generate some positive feelings of well-being in the community. So the page 24 would be for the newspaper. Any concerns about that? It looked good to me, but I didn't stare at it for an hour or anything like that. And page 25 would be on posters as well as on our online sources.
And you know it's cuter than this. Oh, see, Bruce has it in color.
He has it in
Okay,
color.
all right.
Oh,
Yeah.
how are you special?
There you go. Because I spent more money on my printer than you did.
Thank you for the design work, Becky. Any concerns? We try to keep it very simple. Draw attention and get information either from a librarian or from the website rather than trying to put all the details on the. All right. Thank you. January bills, Mr. Marshall.
Okay. Well, there's one very unusual one on there, but it comes up every year.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the IFLS bill. And so that's.
Let me see.
There we go. Nope, it's 26. On the other way. No. No. Looking at page 26, IFLS fee for the year is listed there under contract services, a third of the way down, 13,424. That's an increase of Just a little under $1,000 from last year. I think it was about 12,500 last year.
Yeah.
I want to point that out, so if anybody looks at, wow, on the bills this month.
Well,
That's
more of it's 13,111.
13 what?
Mhm.
118 is the actual number.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
that's with the Red Apple Center. I'm sorry. I got the services
Total
combined.
line.
13,100, yes. So it isn't quite as much, $600 increase. Other than that, there wasn't anything bizarre that I never look at, paying any attention to what materials are being purchased in terms of books and such, but in terms of the categories and matching up to the bills and our listing of them, the rest of this seemed to be in line. So, anybody have any questions? Otherwise, what we would be looking at, and in answer to Jeff's questions earlier about the budget balance for the year, what we're doing, if you go to page 29, so below the line, we've got a couple of IFLS reimbursement, and that was from a workshop, I believe, a children's workshop that Jake was at.
Yep, that's me.
So we had $100 reimbursement from IFLS on that. And then I'm not sure what the Office Depot refund was particularly for, but from some materials we must have purchased or something. Anyways, we had $163 and change that we're depositing in, and then we're gonna turn that right around and issue, want to, then turn it around and issue $163.86 check to the city. So it comes in and goes out right in here. Otherwise, we have the other in is $113 for the from the copier. Now, you also have from the board, we've got a major expense that we're looking for, which is, and it's noted in Becky's report, $1,000 change for a new laptop. And so because IFLS sets that stuff up for us and we buy through their consortium or whatever, we wind up then paying IFLS for that $1,078. And then they're also the ones that set it up, and they're the ones that are our base question and answer people. So that would, we'd be looking for authorization to have from the board, and I don't think, Becky, that we're right on that number. Are we? I'm just looking at this.
Oh, yeah, where is the total from the board?
Yeah, well,
Oh.
we've got, I don't think we've got that 163.86.
Right. Oh, no, that's it to the board. So that's the 113
No,
and the
from the board?
136.
1,078, 262, 14.
Yeah, I don't have
and
a, I don't have a,
163.
I don't have a total line for from the board. Oh, I see.
You have one,
Oh,
but
I just,
I don't, yeah, I don't think,
oh, I see.
It can't be right though.
Yeah.
right,
It has to be more like 17 something.
well, let's just grab
Oh,
it.
there's always something with the first Excel sheet of me. Well, and I see this in color, so looking at it in black and white is actually really hard for me. $15.03, right? What did you get?
I got 1518.90.
You're adding up, so.
I'm adding up here, I'm taking the from the
Yeah.
board numbers of 1,078 plus 262.05
Yeah.
plus 1499
Mm-hmm.
plus 163.86.
Yeah, that's what I get to.
Also, the 163 should actually be.
Because it's going, I'm giving it to you, but then you're going to give it to the city. So it has to come in and then go back out.
So
From the board, but it's also to the city.
Right.
correct.
So it should have
And
been.
we don't have to do that, but we decided that for record keeping purposes, it made more sense to do it that way this time. Because those reimbursement checks were from things in our,
Right, we were gonna we
I
were
was
gonna
just gonna
hand the
use-
checks over to the city, in which case they wouldn't reflect anywhere in here.
right,
Or we deposit them and just run them through. So, but anyway, so the total out would be $1,518.90. So what we'd be looking for our motion after all of this stuff is we'd be for approval of payment of the bills by the city of $17,215.77 shown on page 28, plus authorization from board designated funds of $1,518.90.
Can I make a quick question? This laptop, so it's a brand new one that they set up for you?
It's a brand new laptop.
How often do they do that? I'm sure they update it all the time, but
Whenever we ask them to, and we are actually doing, I'm working Saturday, so we're actually doing a software update on Saturday when I leave. So they're gonna be updating them all to the newest version of Windows. And this is, so Jody has taken on more responsibilities that require her to be working on a computer. And right now, the computer that she works at is the second one up at the front desk. And what's happening is that doesn't make it easy for her to have time to actually focus on the computer, because when she's sitting there, regardless of whether or not she's supposed to be the first or the second line of defense, people come up and talk to her and bother her and do whatever. So we tried having her work in Evelyn's office, but that meant that she was emailing everything from the front desk computer to Evelyn's computer and back again, just to keep working on it, you know, just kind of like a cloud situation. And so I said, you know what, let's just get a laptop. We can always use an extra laptop for outreach anyways. We'll say that it is front desk staff laptop. You can have everything on that laptop. And then, you know, if you go on vacation or something and we need to access your stuff, it'll all be in the same place. So that is what it's for, so that she can sit in the back office and get some of her programming work done without being interrupted. Yeah.
not a hammer down. You get the new one?
So this isn't a replacement.
Because I don't want to.
No, it's not a replacement.
And if you guys don't want to pay for this from board funds, I will take it out of the operating budget.
No, I'm
However,
against it.
I just kind of
That's not
thought
what
this
I'm
made.
asking. I just wanted to.
You're right, but I just want you to
Clarification.
know that if you have that option. I mean, yeah.
So you guys, I'm getting off the topic, but you guys don't have like a file sharing system that you can access from all your computers?
We do, because we all have Outlook, so we can do,
OneDrive.
yeah, so we can
OneDrive.
do OneDrive.
Okay.
It's more a matter of,
But OneDrive
It's all
doesn't
here.
allow you to
Yeah.
see everything unless they share it.
right,
So each one has their own OneDrive account that they can say here, they can share the file so that they all can look at the one file, but it's not automatic, right?
Yes.
That's at least the way OneDrive works.
this seemed
Oh.
like a better solution than trying to split Evelyn's office, which at some times gets overwhelming, especially before book sales, or if we
Okay.
have a whole bunch of book things. And but yeah, so this should
allows-
seem like,
It allows Jody to make
Yeah.
use of whatever space is
exactly,
most accessible when
Right.
she needs to.
Well, the other option would be to have a server, file server or.
Yeah, I
something
guess
similar.
in my mind, I presumed there was one, so.
Cheaper to have.
Yeah,
Laptop.
network accessible storage.
Yeah.
But
I think this would be a fine addition to the technology, and we have quite a lot in the technology fund set aside in board funds to afford this. Good discussion.
Yeah.
I'm looking for
Um,
a motion to approve.
I think Gail's ready to have something.
Sorry, yeah, I had one quick question. I hope this isn't totally off the topic, but do you guys have any subscriptions that you pay for like word processing or spreadsheets or anything like that? Like I'm thinking the Microsoft Office apps.
the licenses are all through IFLIS. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I don't usually see those bills. I think they roll them into the more budget as best they can if it's like a system-wide thing that we need to do. And
Excellent.
then they remotely take care of all my computers. And we have been told in no uncertain terms that we are not allowed to buy computers from everywhere else, because then it's too many hands in the pot and then they don't know what we have, and yeah, so everything.
Support what they want.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Okay, sure. Now that sounds like you're way ahead of. I was just thinking, I have heard that Microsoft will give free licenses for their software to nonprofit organizations and public agencies, but it sounds like IFLIS is already like 5 steps ahead of me.
Yeah, and I've never seen one of those bills, so for all I know, they're already doing
Well, the
Yeah.
ticket price is high enough, I
Yeah.
think we're
Either way, it's
entitled
free
to
to
that
us,
support
because
there.
either we're
Yeah.
paying for it or Microsoft's giving it to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. We're looking for a motion.
I would be happy to make that motion for 17,215.77 above the line. And 15,1890 below the line.
Christie,
I'll second that.
seconded by Jeff. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed, say no. Motion is carried. Okay, in-service day, what did you have in mind? Becky?
So February 17th is a bank holiday, so the banks and the mail are closed anyway. So I would really like to have permission to close the library that day. We usually do get a handful of calls on those days anyway, saying, are you open? Because it's open. And I would like to have the staff in the morning go through a refresher of the Sierra system. It's been a little while. We all work the front desk. I would like for all of us to be a little bit more confident working the front desk. Everybody works a Saturday. I want everybody on the same page. They just instated this new texting service. I think it's a good time to have a refresher. Yes, and then in the afternoon, I have been threatening them with a team building exercise for a little bit. I think we need something. And IFLS would come in and facilitate this, so this would not be me. But I think we need maybe a little bit of a refresher on customer service and teamwork and just maybe a reset. We now have a new employee that we haven't done anything like that with. And this was talked about before.
Teamwork,
No, 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 no. I just want to say, this was threatened before Jake, but I really do think that we will benefit from this day. So
And that's something that was, that's a service they provide.
that is a service they provide. So we would pay for lunch.
Let's get our $13,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And obviously we have, 3 weeks to tell the public that we'll be closed and we'll backdate everything and
That's the President's Day?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what day of the week is it?
It's a Monday.
A Monday.
Well, you can go through that current system with the employees.
Yeah, I figured.
Exactly.
Excellent time to do that, so, yeah. It's a good idea.
Mhm. Okay.
But I can't close the library unless you guys tell me.
We do
Yes.
need a motion. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll make the motion.
All right.
Brian's in the mood.
People wait to
Do we have a second?
Second time.
Oh,
Second by Mark Peterson.
Beat you, Galen.
yep, I tried.
Okay, and for the record, I don't think staff training is ever a threat. It's always a good thing.
Okay, right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay.
All right. Do we have any questions? This should say, by the way, not December meeting, but
Oh, right,
February
February.
meeting.
That's the December you meant.
That's the one I missed.
Sorry, Tony. She did catch it. And then I changed the date at the top of the paper and that was it.
On our beautiful pink papers. Okay, any other new business to add to the next meeting? From you fine people. And as always, if you think of something apart from this meeting, please let Becky know and she will be happy to add that to the agenda at a later time. Time and date for the next meeting.
Last Thursday in February is the 27th. Does that look pretty good for everybody right now?
Oh,
Sounds just fine.
the kids don't have school that day if it matters for any parents or teachers.
Are they off the 27th and 28th?
Yes.
Ooh.
I probably won't be able to make it, but don't plan around me.
That's just fine. We understand it.
Looks good for me.
Okay.
I think that should work for me.
All right. I don't hear an overwhelming no, so we'll go with that. And Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move adjourn.
Motion made by Jeff. I don't believe it requires a second. I'll be happy to give it. Second by Christie.
Actually, you don't need a motion.
True, I can just.
You can just go ahead and do it.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Meeting is
Could I
adjourned.
add something after you? Done? Jennifer, could I add something? We had the big discussion in our town about, whether or not we put details into public comment in the agenda.
In the city or
It's
in the
not
county?
written In the town. I'm telling Georgetown and.
Oh, Georgetown. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you,
They
Mr.
don't recommend anything except the name. And, our new clerk
Make a copy of that. I'll be right back.
decided she was going to
I
be
can-
put
I
in the
can walk.
role and she really wanted.
Plus,
to,
I've got this
and
for you.
Oh, we have the-
Oh,
You
sure.
gave
She
me
said,
too many.
Yeah.
so I just wanted to say that before.
All right. Oh, all right. I'm closing this, guys. Bye.
Yeah.